This deity is a bastard who made a bastard creation, who is the vomit. The human body is the cesspool. He created humans and all animals to worship him because he's weak and insecure. His name is Yahweh or Yahweh or Jehovah. When the great mother Sophia seen this, to correct her situation, she sent down her divine sparks of light, which is the soul. And she decided to put her souls in that animal called man, who was a worm. He then stood upright and had intelligence in the need, which is your need to go back home, is what the soul provides. It's not giving you the consciousness where it's telling you it's time to go back home. Your spirit is telling you that. Because if that was the case, then how come the Christian who says, or Puff Daddy, or they're not talking the same shit as you? And they have souls, don't they? Your spirit is what's driving you to get back. Your soul is going to be the way back. It will magnetize and take you back to its source, the mothership. But it can only take that if you can charge your spirit, which is astral related, with the programming. So don't get me wrong, Vic. You have the programming, but it's your consciousness in your light that you get is going to be the vehicle. Your soul is like the GPS, programmed to go back to its source. All right. Now, so they explain that the great mother put these souls in a human being. He was upright, and then he was able to do like we do. That's when you hear, we realize we are naked and ashamed. What we realized, we were naked because we no longer had the protection of what we truly are. We were naked not because we didn't have any clothes on. We was naked from our true power on earth. And that's when their problems begin, because just like any other conscious person, when you be conscious, that's when your problems begin. Because all I have to do in this motherfucker be happy is just go to college. And I'll be happy. But I'll be ignorant, and ignorance is bliss. I'll be in the Garden of Eden. When I become conscious, we're cast out the garden, naked and ashamed. Naked from who you are. You should be ashamed of what you become as a human. Now, that's where you get this idea, I'm a jealous God, because what's in you is older. They also talk about he had help from the 12 archons. The 12 archons. The 12 archons are nothing more than our favorite friends, the zodiac. See, in Gnosticism, clearly, it tells you about the zodiac as not your friends. So you've probably heard me say before, no. See, people don't get it wrong. People who deal in zodiac readings and zodiacal premonitions, are they wrong? Absolutely not. They are 100% right, and their expertise will dictate how right they are for you. But think of it as a concept, as I told you earlier. The concept is these zodiacs are technically dictating your behavior or your proposed behavior. CJ, who's a Leo, shouldn't get with Sophia, who's a Taurus. Because zodiac means they go heads, and one is fire, one is whatever story, the moon was in conjunct with Pluto, whatever fucking thing. That may be real. But the secret science, which is actually in Christianity but came from Gnosticism, is the Christ energy. The 13 supersedes zodiacal influence. And that half represents a human higher form. Because within that zodiac, you're supposed to be reaching a higher form. I told you in Gnosticism, there's man, and then there's the soul that made him upright. The soul represents that hidden higher aspiration that you're going to. And the animal self is the one that's led around, let's just say by a Taurus, bullheadedness, stubbornness, and all the rest of these negative traits of Taurus can certainly have. If I let that run my life, then I'm letting humanity run my life, and I'm letting another entity, or the true gods that created this place, which are the zodiac, run my life. So the idea of Jesus having 12 disciples, the word disciple means to discipline. He's disciplining the zodiac animal forms. And see, Freeman L told us even the zodiac who's not animals, they all used to be animals. He said Libra, less than 2 scales, used to be the scales over a donkey, used to be a donkey over Libra. Oh, let me get the CJ guy back. Used to be a donkey over Libra, so they all used to be animals. So the idea is, in Gnosticism, they tell you straight out, this deity, Yaldabaoth, Yahweh, Jehovah, all the rest of that shit that these niggas are praying to, called demiurge energy, the lesser god. You can find all the shit in Jocko LaCourse's book, right to the point. Hundreds and hundreds of statements. If I'd have brought that book and just read down what I have highlighted, y'all wouldn't believe this shit. Cesspool, humanity, you telling you shit like you could be a king on earth and a lowly dog in the afterlife, and being a king does not compare to a flea on a dog's ass in the afterlife of what you truly are. While you're fighting to live here and be a baller on earth and do your business here, fucking don't know who or what you are or what you truly are. Let's just say that. Study and you will find it. Really study. Now, they're going on for days about the incompetence, making up regular points. Well, if this is a God that created this place, and how come he was not competent enough to create a place where no evil exists? And you are dealing with evil on this planet. So either he's real cruel or real incompetent to create such a place where their rape exists, disease exists, suffering exists. So why are you putting people through this? You're either really incompetent or really evil. So they go through all these kind of things. And again, speak deeply on these 12 evil archons that once he didn't have the power to do it, they helped him out, creating time and shit like that. And that's what Zodiac is, nothing but the 12, time. Please believe. And that's the true science of the Christ energy, number 13, to discipline those energies and free yourself up. Just think of it, 12 is a circle. 12 is a circle on a clock. The middle point is actually the hieroglyph of the sun. It's a circle with a midpoint in the middle, called the black dot. The black dot is Christ's energy. So now you become the hands of the clock instead of spinning around the clock. If I was on a wheel on a car, on the outside, I'm spinning around and around. I'm a Zodiac, I'm a Pisces, I'm a Taurus, I'm a Cancer. But when I become that middle point, the 13, that's why Jesus sits in the middle at that table, at that Last Supper. When you come to the middle point, you're not spinning around, shit is spinning around you. You're outside the circle of time as Christ. So that feeling of, I don't want to come back here, I don't want to do this shit no more. I've been trying to tell you, you can experience this freedom now when you release your humanity. You're not on planet Earth. Your body's on planet Earth. What do you mean you need techniques to blow this joint? You can leave right now when you release your humanity. That's what I'm teaching you right now. Ain't no technique how to do it. I'm teaching you a class on how to become it. What's left behind now that each sleep.
It took Kushner and Witkoff to say on the president that we assure you that will not happen. Is Jared Kushner the person we should thank for this moment?
Well, Jared definitely played a significant role, that's for sure. And I can tell you, through my experience in government and also now, the value of outside players can be very significant. Yes. So I without doubt, from everybody I speak to and everything I know, played a very heavy role in pushing this deal across the finish line. Mm-hmm. He obviously has a lot of relationships and contacts in the Middle East. He remains through his businesses and so on.
Sunday's a big day in the Middle East. In fact, we are keeping an eye on the podium in Egypt right now, where President Trump is expected to speak any minute. We'll bring you a special report when that happens. Within the last hour, the president meeting with Arab leaders who he says are crucial to ensuring lasting peace in the region. Mr. Trump was in Israel earlier today to watch the first phase of the peace deal play out and urge Israel's parliament to unite now that the war is over.
People are dancing in the streets, not just in Israel. They're dancing in the streets of countries that would have never danced in the street about what's happening today. Together we've shown that peace is not just a hope that we can dream about. It's a reality built on day by day, person by person and nation.
But as a gent of Jewish history, one for whom we must look back 2.5 millennia into the mists of time to find a parallel, Cyrus the Great. You, President Donald J. Trump, are a colossus who will be enshrined in the pantheon of history. Thousands of years from now, Mr. President, the Jewish people will remember you. We are a nation that remembers.
أنت وحدك القادر على تحقيق السلام في منطقتنا.
I even said that very precisely during my communication with Your Excellency, that you are the only one who is able to bring about peace and to achieve peace in this country.
All the momentum now is toward a glorious and lasting peace, and our commitment to fulfilling the 20-point plan we developed together will be the crucial foundation for achieving that bright future, and it's being worked on right now as we speak, and we're actually in stage 3 and 4. It's not going to be, just divided down so simply. We can be long advanced on some of the things that we say we're going to do. We can take them out of order in a positive way, and we've shown how it can be done with responsible nations like the people in this room, these incredible people in this room, setting aside their differences, seeking common ground, and pursuing a better world for all of us. And that spirit's my dream, that we all get together and enjoy our life. And we're going to put some of you on the Board of Peace. Everybody wants to be on the Board of Peace. They said, would you be the chairman? I say, I'm pretty busy too. But whatever we can do to have peace in the Middle East, it's worth it. But everybody wants to go on the Board of Peace, so we're probably going to enlarge it. We're going to get, and the leaders, the top people, the top leaders, they want to be on the Board of Peace. A beautiful term. At first I wasn't sure, and then I realized how beautiful it is.
I'm so glad that you're with us of all days. I don't even want to start with a question for you other than, what are you thinking right now?
Oh my gosh, I'm overjoyed. I feel a sense of relief, and I feel a sense of, by the way, immense pride to see the United States and President Trump really be the leader in brokering this deal. That's the role the United States often plays in bringing an end to war. Believe that this is a war. Might not necessarily mean an end to conflict sometimes, but it's a significant step. Seeing those hostages being released and reunited with their families gives me goosebumps.
Remarkable. Well, your energy is contagious. So from here, how do the parties who we just saw celebrating this moment make this a lasting peace? How do you get through the second phase?
Sure. It's I don't want to underestimate the importance of having all of those leaders that we saw standing behind President Trump. And it's not just regional leaders. You had leaders from around the world. You even had the UN Secretary General, who President Trump has attacked numerous times.
That's right.
Everybody coming together for this. And that speaks volumes. But also the fact is that there were a lot of factors here that brought us to this day in a way that none of us could have foreseen.
Right now is a moment where you have so much hope and optimism, and you just hope that they can grab it, both for Israel, for the region, for the Palestinians, and all of these things that have been broken and burst over the last few decades and even perhaps centuries.
Absolutely. And Trey, you had the opportunity to speak with President Trump earlier. This was a big moment in the celebrations today when Benjamin Netanyahu thanked President Trump. This is call for 3, guys, if we have it teed up. Okay, let me just read it to you. Trey. Donald Trump is the greatest that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House. Mr. President, you are committed to this peace. I am committed to this peace. And together, Mr. President, we will achieve this peace. Give us your thoughts, Trey, after speaking to the president earlier.
Yes, Sandra, I spoke with President Trump earlier today, and what stood out to me is how much he actually cares about the region. This is the most powerful, and yet he purposefully delayed his schedule so he could spend more time with the families of hostages and hostages who had been freed in previous deals that he supported. And when you think about what this means, it means that you have a leader who is looking toward the future with an understanding of the realities on the ground. And those realities are that Israel is a population of nearly 10 million people. The Gaza Strip is a population of more than 2 million people. And the president has a vision for a future of the Middle East that would not have all of the violence and war that has ravished the Middle East for the past 2 years, as we've seen inside the Gaza Strip with the death and destruction following a horrific massacre on October 7th. And so this really does feel like a moment of change for the Middle East, an opportunity. The president, in his remarks at the Israeli Knesset, made that very point. He said from and states all around the world that people should come together. And he almost alluded at the fact that there are going to be more normalization deals brokered by the Trump administration with countries like Indonesia, for example, or countries like Iraq even, or Syria, possibly Lebanon. He even extended an olive branch to Iran, a country that he targeted with airstrikes over the summer to stop the country from developing its nuclear program and going a nuclear bomb. The bottom line here is that this president is looking for peace, and he capitalized on this with this meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, bringing together these world leaders that have the money and influence to actually get it done in the region. Because while the president wants to usher in this new chapter, he's made very clear he doesn't want U.S. boots on the ground inside Gaza. He's willing to have CENTCOM forces in an advisory role to ensure that this peace plan moves forward. But this is a regional plan that ultimately could lead to prosperity and stability across the Middle East, something the region has not seen in decades.
President Trump, can you tell us when phase 2 of the negotiations will begin?
Well, it started. It started as far as we're concerned. Phase 2 has started. And, the phases are all a little bit mixed in with each other. They're going to start cleaning up. You look at Gaza, and it needs a lot of cleanup. That's why when I talked in my speech, I talked about the debris. I use the word debris. That's debris times 10. So, but they're going to really do a job. They have a lot of power. In another room, you have the wealthiest nations in the world. All leaders, the big leaders are here, the emirs and the kings and everybody, and it's a very interesting group. I guess we have like 35 countries, and that's only because they were the 35 that we invited. Everybody that we invited came. So there's a lot of respect, and I think you'll see some tremendous progress. I want to express my tremendous gratitude to the Arab and Muslim nations who helped make this incredible breakthrough possible, and you really did. To President El-Sisi of Egypt, who is so generously hosting us today. And I want to thank you for the outstanding job your country is doing in so many different ways and for helping us so much with this peace agreement.
Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. How y'all feeling today? Obviously dealing with some glitchiness. So we'll see how that plays out for this particular broadcast in reference to the topics that we're going to be talking about. Now, what you just saw was something that made me think about this particular entity called Central Casting, an American casting company that specializes in casting of extras, body doubles, and stand-ins, right? Hopefully y'all got your third eyes open this morning because I did not come to play. All right? Not here to joke around. All right? We in some real live shit, family. I promise you that we are. Shit is real in the motherfucking field, okay? So, in reference to central casting, one of those things we have to begin to understand is which one of us is the actors and which one of us is the real people. Because in order to understand and overstand the paradigm that we are in presently, you have to formulate a specific why. If you don't understand why all of this particular thing called life is played out the way that it's played out, where you have an opportunity to be free, you have an opportunity to learn and do all of the things that you want to do, and maybe you are the fortunate one that does it. You have to begin to ask yourself, like, if you really want to look at life and understand life from a perspective of, let's just say, a police officer in the inner city or just a casual observer of the nightly news. Why do I live in a world where evil exists? You ever been in a toxic relationship? You believe in God, but the relationship is toxic, and you know you're not on bullshit. You looking at this person like, this motherfucker is crazy. Why? Why are people psychotic, psychopathic, weird the more you get to know them? I think in doing this research for this particular video, I've come up with an answer why. You know, chattel slavery, racism. Why is racism and the manipulation of the Black mind so imminent on your digital spaces? You know, colorism, redlining, all of these particular paradigms, you know, why are they happening? And I think I have that particular answer in this research and presentation that I'm about to bring to you. Proudly brought to you by whiterabbitsite.com. Please check us out. This video is titled The Little Season, the Tartarian Moorish Empire, in the quote-unquote Dark Ages from a Gnostic perspective. So I'm going to deviate from the slideshow real quick, and I want us to look at the word from an etymological perspective. This word is called religion. And I want to get into the compound words that create this particular concept. So as I'm yapping, can I get some ones in the chat if y'all can hear me okay? I meant to ask that as soon as I got on here. But if y'all can hear me okay, feel free to throw me some ones in the chat. Here we go. So the noun of action, derived by Cicero from religere, means to go through again. Go through what again? To read again. So within this particular concept of religion, nothing about it is connected to God, or connected to source, or connected to truth. So in the previous video where I proposed a hypothetical question that I feel I know the answer to, but I'm not going to impose my answer onto anyone else. What if God is the devil? And then you join religion to worship God, but religion from an etymological perspective, y'all, it is to go through again. What this also speaks to me is that to go through it again means you already went through it, meaning that it is already within you. So in reference from a Gnostic perspective, the goal of life isn't to acquiesce to any hierarchy, especially religious, in the workplace, in your relationships, in your family. The goal is to awaken your divine spark. And if you are not obsessed with this concept, you're religious in thought and action. You are trying to go through something again, and you already went through it. So, in preparing for this video, a couple of things stood out. The first thing is the kingdom of Prester John, the Tartarian Empire / Moorish Empire. They say Tartaria because they don't want to say Moor, because the conspiracy theory community is racist. Because the root of conspiracy theory is the suppression of a melanated empire. And the humdinger of it all is that it was an empire that was ran by Jesus for 1,000 years. So when you say, well, why is conspiracy theory so vast, and then interpolated with witchcraft and occultism and tarot cards? The answer to that question is that it's right in your face. However, something happened. In reference to the world that we live in, it's more to this world than we were let on to believe. And anytime people get a glimpse of the real world, it goes into the realms of conspiracy theory, pseudo-scientific, false, wrong, misinformation. That nigga don't know what he talking about. That person over there is crazy. But at the same time, on the flip side, they whooping your ass consistently. You clocking in consistently. You take 31 minutes instead of 30 minutes, they're calling you in for a meeting about your break times. You go to work, you do a good job. What do they tell you to do? Do a better job. You trying to exist in this world, you can't find a man, you can't find a woman, and none of this is being addressed. Because there's more to the world than we begin to understand. And so, even though the truth is being suppressed, the outlet is within you. So the Gnostics were saying, we're going to create a doctrine for the third season of The Magicians. I think it's the third season, when all the magic stopped working, right? They just doing magic, everything, and you get used to doing the magic, and you think you are the magic, and you just, you know, and trust me, I'm a show and prove today. I'm not just talking. I'm gonna give you visuals. And then I'm allow you to do your deeper research so you can see the countless examples of a glorious empire that was suppressed. And you can't explain it, you can't understand it, you can't fathom it, because it was a supernatural influence. And then when you read the Bible like, why is this book everywhere? Especially when it comes to America. It could be a form of brainwash, or it could be a form of the truth being in plain sight. It could be a case of the truth is stranger than fiction. I'm going to show you literally, if that is even a word, how the Bible tells you, nigga, I saw this shit. And then what's about to happen is about to be a little season, and you know, the devil gonna be in control. But I'll be right back. And then you say, well, how do you prove that in real life? Hood, you're just being so weird right now. You're scaring me, Hood. Well, we can bear witness to the comet that's coming to the sky, the mothership that's coming to the sky, the government shutdown, the peace in the Middle East. We can bear witness to all of this shit. And you have to then say, well, It's all random coincidence. You really tripping now. You paying attention to the news and shit, nigga. I'm woke. I don't pay attention to the news. That's how they gonna come at you sooner or later. But I'm gonna give you some science based upon, like, I'll give you the foundation, and then I'll give you the observation, and then I'll throw my hands up. Cause to me, this shit compelling as a motherfucker. But I can be I ain't even gonna make no jokes today. I told you I'm not coming here to play. So what are we talking about? Oh. We are going to, this is just an overview of what I'm going to bring to the surface. I'm going to give us it. We're talking about the little season. If you don't know that we in the little season, then you're going to be confused because you're going to think that the swamp water is refreshing. You're going to keep drinking it and you say, why am I getting sick? I don't understand why I'm getting sick. And niggas eat high fructose syrup every day. Niggas eat meat 3 times a day. Niggas have bacon in the morning, a ham sandwich for lunch, and goddamn pork chops for dinner consistently. And said, well, I can't believe I got cancer, hood. I'm about to cry about it. Don't cry about it. You created it. Niggas is up at fast food stores like, I don't got time to cook. Let me go ahead and get this thing. This thing, it ain't even food. It's just a thing. So if you can go to a store and pay money for poison and don't nobody say shit, niggas will eat chicken, a chicken sandwich, fried chicken. But then you gotta wash the chicken with chlorine. You gotta inject the chicken with steroids and hormones. So the drugs and the things that they putting in the chicken, even if you differentiate between if the chicken is good or you just go to Chipotle, like I want a chicken bowl. You go to KFC, I want fried chicken. What are you really saying when you say that? Because in truth, you're saying I'm addicted to steroids, I'm addicted to hormones, I'm addicted to chlorine. That's what you're saying. Cause I be in the white neighborhoods. I'm not even gonna lie. And in the white neighborhoods, they got air dried chicken, things of that nature. Air chilled chicken, no chlorine, no steroids, grown on a farm. It almost looked like a humane way of packaging the shit. I'm a vegan to the core, but if I had to eat meat, I know I'm not going to the ghetto to get no meat. And I'm saying all of this to say this is actual factual, and don't nobody give a fuck. And niggas is still going to eat the chicken. Think about this shit. Like, just think about it. How many restaurants in your city sell chicken? How many grocery stores sell chicken? And we gonna really act like the devil not in control? It's not even feasible to. I'm just thinking about your city and how many cities, how many places in the world is eating chicken, and that's just one animal. You usually pair it with cows. Now, it's all fun and games when we talking about chicken and cows and pigs. But then when you say in China they eat dogs, niggas want to be like, oh, y'all are so disgusting. Y'all are so weird in China for eating dogs. While you deep dive into some motherfucking fried chicken, a chicken bowl from KFC. You don't realize it's the same thing. What I'm saying is, we are in a world of darkness. that I could go on and on and on with countless examples on how the devil is in control. And if you don't realize, if you want to argue, no, God really is in control, hood. It's cool that houses is worth $500,000 and you can't afford to get one on a regular 9-to-5 job. That's cool, hood. God is actually in control. No. God is real. God is able to be cultivated within you. But the person that rules this world and its institution and its hierarchies is not God. Let's be clear. It is the devil, Satan, and all the rest of the motherfuckers in full control that don't give a fuck about you at the end of the day. Definitely the courthouse. The judges. You think God run the courthouse system? Cops, they don't prevent crime. They just get there after the shit happened and make sure niggas is in jail. If I was going to create law and order, I would focus a large percentage of my time in preventative. Like, why did that person commit crime? Oh, most people that commit crime are poor. Rich people don't commit violent crimes as much as poor people commit robbery. If I'm rich, I don't need to rob you. I don't need to kill you. If I'm rich, I'm not as stressed out as I am if I'm poor. So law and order is a simple fix. Give people opportunity, give people education, give people cash motherfucking money. You won't have crime. However, when you understand capitalism, you have to have a working class, because that working class is going to support the elite class. It is not something that is unfortunate. No, it is by design. Did God design this particular system called capitalism, or the devil, Satan? And spiritual people have no problem trying to make coin off of you. You're not going to see a spiritualist give you a full body lecture for the free to assist you, to inform you. Every time these niggas get on here, they promoting something, trying to sell you something at the end of the day. And if I'm lying, I'm flying. So in Revelations chapter 19 and Revelations chapter 20, it's very specific on the past and the present. And the celestial markers, which are comets to our suppressed understanding. These comets that are in the Bible, in the history, are correlations. So in 2025, as we get geared up for November, make sure that we buckle our seatbelts. Because the comet experience related to chapter 19 is going to be the same comet experience related to the chapter 20. And these particular comet experiences is the return of Christ. Now, is Christ an actual man? Is something that I've never believed my whole entire spiritual life. Do I believe it now? I'm 30% to I believe that Christ is an actual celestial figure. And I could have known it because I had a dream about Christ very early into my spiritual awakening. And he had on a shirt that said Jesus. It was vertical. It was a blue shirt and it said Jesus and it's vertical. And he was looking at me like, man, I just don't understand you. Because I was looking at him and I'm looking at him and I'm like, I don't believe you exist. And he just looking at me, shaking his head. I say 70% because I understand that I could be tweaking the fuck out right now based on the research. I'm gonna put that out there. I'm aware, I'm conscious. After I do this video, I gotta do some work. You know what I'm saying? Do I think Christ is returning? Yes. And no. Because I've been studying this shit for years without a particular why or evidence to a why. Because I didn't understand, how could I particularly understand this stuff? However, I've always believed in something that I've had to have faith in. I woke up today and I didn't need faith. I had proof. So what I'm speaking to you from is conviction, and I'm going to lay it out in the celestial signs from 70 CE, the siege of Jerusalem, to 2025 or 1225, however you want to look at it, or 1525, because they added some years, because we're going to be talking about the quote unquote dark ages. Dark to who? And why were they dark? So when you say dark, for 1,000 years of darkness, niggas was sitting around for 1,000 years doing nothing. And they're gonna tell us this, and we're gonna say it was the dark ages. They wasn't doing nothing for 1,000 years. We ain't did nothing but accept it. One's in the chat, you was in high school, they said, yeah, the fall of Rome, 1,000 years of darkness because white people just didn't know what to do. If I was Satan, I would have my daughters shaking ass. If I was Satan, I would make sure that a majority of black men have to deal with gun violence in prison before they have to deal with peace on fucking earth. If I was Satan, I would create the world exactly the fuck of how it is. I would create niggas up here and niggas down there and have a war between people to some shit that don't even make sense. You would be surprised how many black queens said, Hood, I got a secret fantasy of making love to a white boy, Hood. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that, Hood. Girl, if you don't fuck Tom Cruise and get the fuck up out of here, because don't nobody give a shit. But I've been taught about the racist system of white power and white supremacy and da-da-da-da-da. Listen, the devil is in control. So when they say 1,000 years of dark ages, or the dark ages lasted 1,000 years, you gotta examine that critically. And when you see these old world buildings, these Tartarian structures that was just automatically spawned throughout the Americas, in China, in Russia, in Australia, and then tell these niggas, go ahead, build those chapels down Woodward again. Them niggas will build a mega church before they build a glorious cathedral with angelic architecture, nigga. Go downtown and look at them cathedrals and say, why don't y'all build something like that again? We don't know how. That was when Jesus was down here. He was giving us the game. And what are these churches devoted to? One nigga, one man. Listen, I'm 30%. This is a revelation to me. This is new to me. But I don't have faith in it. It makes a lot of sense, is all I'm saying. So, once I lay it all out, I'll reinterpret it, and we'll hopefully come out of this presentation with some form of gnosis. So let's get into it from a biblical point of view. The first slide, I'll just highlight it, is going to be from Revelation chapter 19. And it's specific to say, I saw heaven, I saw, which is in the past tense in reference to something that a person have seen. So to context this, John of Patmos, so we're going to understand psychedelics because we can isolate and compartmentalize psychedelics, and therefore we'll say John of Patmos was high out his fucking mind. However, there begins to be some bleed through. Like when you this high, you start to influence the matrix or the illusion, and people start calling you crazy. Or you find yourself in the midst of a particular situation that only God pulled you through. So if you're doing everything common sense, you don't understand God. You know, Nas got a song called God Love Us Hood Niggas, because next to Jesus on the cross was the hood niggas. So you can make mistakes, right? And be in situations that you could have only been in that situation if you was flawed. And this is how you deal with the illusion consciously. It's going to be areas within this illusion that you need to kind of go through without losing your heart. Because once again, you're going on the straight and narrow, you are on the guardrails of the devil demonic. You seen your grandma do it, you seen your aunts and uncles do it, you seen your parents do it, you seen your brother and sister do it. They haven't reached a point of gnosis doing everything that the white man want them to do. So you have to then break, it's called the left-hand path. You have to break the illusion within yourself to recognize that it's an illusion. You have to begin to deal with it in a safe way. For me, I've been in on East 55th Street in Cleveland, you know, at 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to order a corned beef sandwich, or driving up the street getting a burrito, 3 o'clock in the morning, with them night vision goggles on. And there was points in times where I would be in the midst of the illusion, and I knew that this wasn't a forever thing. I knew that it was just something that I had to experience, to the point where I got drugged so low, I was working in valet, and I met a person that was named Paul. And when we was working valet, they came up one day, they was like, we got a special event in St. Louis. Who want to go? I said, I don't got no car, but I'll go. Paul had a car. So I hop in the whip with Paul. We drive to St. Louis to work a valet event. Now, in the midst of me and Paul talking, we get into psychedelics. We start talking about psychedelics, and he like, man, I can get you some LSD if you want some LSD. I said, you can. So long story short, I'm sitting in my room like Brandy, doing Ganesh mantras off the LSD, trance the fuck out my mind, out of here. And the shit wouldn't have been nothing to me unless I get into a car and go to an Asian festival. And I'm in Columbus, Ohio at the time, and I'm like, I hate Columbus, Ohio. Oh my God, how did I get here? But I'm understanding that was my path. It was a dark, ugly path. But eventually, when he put me on the LSD, he had LSD, he had shrooms. I was up in that room for that summer getting higher than a mug. And it was just a good experience internally. But what I'm saying, psychedelics then bleed into reality at a certain level. And I'm just giving you the real. I'm talking about Baba Kalindi, get into that. So I'm at this Asian festival. I don't got nowhere to park. I don't got nowhere to park. It's too many people. But I hit a right and magically this parking spot opened up and I back into it. And then I back into it. The tire have a picture of Ganesha in front of me. I said, oh shit. Hell no. Ain't no fucking way. Right? So I proceed to go I'm still off the LSD a little bit. I walk into there and I'm like magnetized to this spiritual booth. And this dude called me to the spiritual booth. I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. They got mad trinkets and Buddhas and Ganeshas and all this type of stuff. This nigga grabs a chain, wraps it around my neck, and says, you are a Buddha, a spiritual warrior. I'm like, yo, I can't believe it. I'm like, dog, this shit is really blending and merging to the point where I could literally think that I'm having a hallucination, right? And it was just me by myself. And I'm just really going on this path of ritualizing myself, activating myself, because I chose all of these particular things in a particular fashion. Like, it was a point in time where I just drove to Columbus and I parked in front of my aunt's house and she came outside. She was like, what you doing? I was like, I'm about to come live here. She was like, okay. And I'm just living with my aunt in Columbus. And she like, why don't you do something? You just laying in the bed, not doing nothing. And I'm just in that bitch meditating. Now, I'm not crazy. I'm doing what I have. I'm like being told what I have to do. And then it get to a point where I'm like, all right, I need some money. I walk outside. It's a nigga walking down the street. I'm like, hey, where you work at? He pull out a card and give it to me. It's a temp agency. I take that card, get on a bus, go to the temp agency, and walk out of there with a job. Like, it was just easy. But and all of this shit is not shit that I'm humanly proud of, but I'm spiritually proud of, because it brought me to the awakening that I needed to awaken to. And I'm saying that to people who trying to 9-day-5 into gnosis. I'm saying this to people who trying to, aesthetic their way, do X, Y, and Z perfectly. And if you're not doing X, Y, Z, I'm saying this to motherfuckers that got a fucking baby daddy or a baby mama that's giving them hell. You on the right path. Because humanly, you sitting there thinking like, damn, why not fuck with such and such? He got money, he got this, he got that. Because your ass would have still been in an illusion. That's why. Your ass wouldn't awakened. That's why. So, moving on, in reference to the biblical verse, I saw heaven standing open. There before me was a white horse whose rider was called Faithful and True. With justice he judges and weighs war. His eyes are blazing fire, and on his head are many crowns. He has a name written on him that no one knows but he himself. He is dressed in a robe dipped in blood, His name is the Word of God. The armies of heaven were following him, riding on white horses, dressed in fine linen, white and clean. Coming out of his mouth is a sharp sword with which to strike down the nations. He will rule them with an iron scepter. He treads the winepress of fury, of wrath of God Almighty. On his robe and on his thigh, he has this name written: King of Kings, Lord of Lords. And I saw an angel in the sun who cried in a loud voice to all the birds flying in mid-air, come gather together the great supper of God, so that you may eat the flesh of kings, generals, and mighty, of the horses and their riders, and the flesh of all people. So this chapter is 19, and John is seeing some shit that he could only imagine in earlier chapters. Because if you read the earlier chapters, he's saying that I had a vision. You know, he was in the more, I'm imagining this stuff. And in chapter 19, he's literally saying, I saw heaven. And so you have to think, what is the purpose of this book? Nobody is getting into Revelation from the beginning, middle, and the end. Why? Because from my understanding, they don't get it, or they do get it and they need to suppress it. But if you get it, I wouldn't never understand why you would want to suppress it. Because nobody actually understands and can fully grasp God in a way that is right in your face, it's like, it's unbelievable. But at the same time, we have a particular common experience that is at the same level of unbelievable in our skies right now, that coincides with a government shutdown, which coincides with NASA no longer creating a dialogue between us and the comet, that coincides with the Antichrist, Jared Kushner, Donald Trump, creating this false peace in this false paradigm of Israel. So what they have to do, because the devil cannot create, he has to follow this script line for line. And I'm imagining that they know, and this is why everything is stopping and moving toward this particular conversation. Peace on earth, peace in the Middle East, you know, because if we look at chapter 20, it continues. And I saw an angel coming down out of heaven, having the key to the abyss, and holding in his hand a great chain. He sees the dragon, the ancient serpent, who is the devil or Satan. But if you read different texts, those aren't differentiations. I mean, those aren't like characteristics. Those are separations of entities that are coming together to rule. So I would read it as this angel came down and sees the dragon, the ancient serpent, the devil, and Satan, and bound them for 1,000 years. He threw them into the abyss and locked it and sealed it over him to keep him from deceiving the nations anymore until the 1,000 years were ended. But after that, he must be set free for a short time. So throughout the whole entire Bible, they're speaking in past tense, like this was happening, and we're in the midst of the devil being locked up. But there's going to be a period of time in the future where the devil is going to be free. That's why we got to write this book. This sentence explains the purpose of Revelation. It explains the story. It explains it all. But if you're so large-minded, you're going to skip over the fact that this is the purpose of the whole entire Bible. The devil will be set free. It's telling you this. And when the devil is set free, in reference to God, niggas is not going to care, because people is going to think that God is the devil. So it continues on. I saw thrones on which were seated those who had been given the authority to judge. He's back into the past tense. He's back into what happened when Jesus returned to the earth and ruled for 1,000 years. You can take it literally or figuratively, or it's completely made up. I'm giving people the space to call me crazy because I understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. But these are not the words that I've created. They're the words that are hidden in plain sight. And if you study the history, basic high school history, they told you about the fall of Rome. They told you about the 1,000 years of dark ages. But according to the Bible, John saw thrones on which were seated on those who have been given authority to judge. And I saw souls of those who have been beheaded because of their testimony about Jesus, because of the word of God. They had not worshiped the beast or its image and had not received the mark on his foreheads. See, I'll finish, but then I'll come back to it. They came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. They came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. In the Bible, y'all, it does not say they will come to life and reign with Christ 1,000 years. It does not say that. It says this nigga already came and reigned for 1,000 years. The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy are those who share in the first resurrection. The second death has no power over them, but they will be priests of God and Christ and will reign for him for 1,000 years. Some compelling shit, man. However, when the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison, and he will go out to deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth. Now, the Bible is telling you in chapter 20, verse 7, that Jesus came to earth for 1,000 years and ruled. But the deal was, for some odd reason, maybe because we are understanding things from a cyclical perspective, maybe. The Bible says when the 1,000 years are over, Satan is going to be released from his prison. What you gonna do, niggas? And he said Satan's army, they gathered them for battle, and they're like the sand on the seashore. They marched across the breadth of the earth, surrounded the camp of God's people, the city he loves, but fire came down from heaven and devoured them. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into a lake of burning sulfur where the beast and the false prophet have been thrown. And they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. Some things I want to discuss in reference to this. When it says they had not worshipped the beast or its image and had not received its mark on their foreheads or their hands, they're not talking about the vaccine or COVID-19 or nothing like that. They're talking about some shit that they had already experienced. When you talk about the rapture, niggas is still waiting for the rapture. The rapture have already happened. That's why it ain't gonna happen again. We are in the little season, which the Bible is telling you what happens. This nigga will be released from his prison and will go out to deceive the nations. And you can bear witness, Trump with 35 nations behind him. Are they uplifting the nations or are they deceiving the nations? They talk about some damn hostages and peace in the Middle East. For how long? So let's just summarize this real quick. The book of Revelation has some grammatical shifts. And those grammatical shifts is a signal of unfolding prophetic state rather than a past completed event. Satan's little season isn't over. And it's nothing, what can you show me that is the perpetuation of a God, of a perfection? Because why would God create sickness, homelessness, disease when he doesn't have to? And I don't think God does do that. I think that Satan would, just because I can. So from a Gnostic perspective, this indicates that the 1,000 years of divine rulership have concluded. Humanity now finds itself within a little season, a brief period defined by tests of consciousness and widespread deception. So reading chapter 19, reading chapter 20, the purpose of it for me is that it is speaking to something prophetic. And I would say I don't like living in the realms of hearsay. Prophetic how? I don't know specifically, but I think this comet that's approaching the Earth, Atlas 3I, is related to the comet that they saw in Revelation chapter 19. So the prophecy would be to wait for the comet to re-arrive, in my humble opinion. So what is the little season? The little season is a critical interval where nations are misled and collective consciousness faces significant challenges. What does this bring about? This brings about a spiritual reawakening, which you get back to the true divine identity and you get back to the true incorporation of spiritual technology that supersedes the technology that we're dealing with in this rudimentary life. We get into the understanding of what they were into when they were building those amazing buildings in the old world of America. Like we get to tap in to free energy. We get to tap into 1,000% prosperity and the return of our knowledge, the return of our peace. I want to live in a time where consciousness returns, because you can see it in these old world buildings. And I'll show you if you've never seen them before. So this is the time of confusion, like the Temptations say, a ball of confusion. This is the devil's short time. This is describing an age where truth is generally obscured by distraction, inversion, and misinformation. So this is a particular excerpt from a map that is explaining the land of Tartarian. And there's two words that I want you to specifically pay attention to, and we'll use the Bible as a cross-reference to explain what took place in the suppression of the Tartarian Empire. The Caspian Mountains, where Alexander saw trees so tall that their canopies touched the clouds. This is where he almost died had it not been for Satan, who took him out of there using his arts. And with his stratagem, he locked here the Tartarians, Gog and Magog. And for them, he made two metal images above described. Item, he locked here many diverse races who don't hesitate to eat all kinds of raw meat. From this group will come the Antichrist, and their end will be caused by the fire that will fall from the sky and will confound them. Now, I have the particular source in the slideshow. If you want to access this particular source information, you will be able to if you just join my Substack. So I'm just trying to identify the source real quick and just show you it. Here we go. I will have to do it post live because it's giving me the runaround. But let's highlight this and let's go back to the Bible. When the 1,000 years are over, these are two texts that are not related. One is an excerpt from a map. This is from the Bible. I'm connecting the little season of Satan to the Tartarian Empire, which was ruled by Prester John or John the Baptist, right? Presbyterian Baptist Church. All of these connections are to Jesus and his power and his instruction. The kingdom of heaven was on earth for 1,000 years. And then it was suppressed. Why? I don't know. I don't make the rules. And somebody is very clever at making all of this shit up. Or it's just what happened and we didn't know. Because we are going to school being taught not the real history, because God is not in the school, the devil is in the school. Why would the devil teach you the right information? It just doesn't make any sense. So when the 1,000 years are over, Satan will be released from his prison, and he will go out and deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, and to gather them for the battle. So this particular text seems to add in the Tartarians to represent Gog and Magog. Okay? Argon, once there was in Asia a Christian kingdom known to Prester John and D. Thomas, founded it in the place so that it was in contact with the Church of Rome and was subjected to Rome through Prester John of Africa before it was defeated by the Goth. So when you understand this word Goth or Got or God, that's why we even use the word God from this particular defeat of the Goths, which would, in regular historical terms, would be Spain, Isabella, and Ferdinand defeating the Moorish army. Because Isabella and Ferdinand in Spain was deeply connected to the Vatican. And this defeat is a defeat in reference to the devil getting back or taking over for a little season. From my calculations, it started in 1492 and continued on up until this particular November. My particular calculations is November 1st. That we will start to see some weird shit happening in the sky. Fire from the sky that will confound them. And people gonna be real confused. Like nobody was talking about this. And I'm telling you right now. So this is a book by James W. Lee. It's called One World, One America, Tartarians and Moors. Okay? This is what it's all about. They're so quick to call you black. They're so quick to call you Ados. They're so quick to call you a Negro, a nigger, an Indian, Solon. They're gonna call you everything but a Moor. They're gonna call you everything but a Tartarian because you are connected. When they say that the West Africans shipped their own people, no, they didn't. They shipped inland Africans that they didn't even like. Nobody likes you because you represent the kingdom on heaven. You got to think. The Indian can come over here. The Chaldean can come over here. The Somalian can come over here. The Haitian can come over here. They kids is in college. They kids is doing well. They can open up business. The Vietnamese can come over here. Establish themselves. Somebody has got a foot on your neck and you have never came to the conclusion to why. They will not talk about you. See, conspiracy cannot connect this dot because their heart is racist. Google this shit, Little Season. It will sound good. It will feel good until you cross that bridge. Well, what about the black people? And when we say the black people, we are talking about a specific cut of a diamond that is priceless. When you understand the Moorish Empire, you will begin to hold your head up a little high. When you begin to understand the architecture, yeah, the consciousness is not there, but it's going to activate. In the Bible, it says, like a twinkling of an eye, you will awaken. Bobby Hemmett also said, I'm going to follow the spiritual path, even if it lead me back to Jesus. Well, guess what, nigga? It did. This is just a few. I ain't even show Detroit. But if you drive up and down Woodward and look to the left and look to the right, you are going to see some amazing feats of architecture. Now, I want you to understand, and understand that these buildings were not built by nobody but the old world Tartarian Empire. You can YouTube this and you can watch videos for the whole year every day. Jared Boosters, Old World Unveiled. Just search it. Type in Old World buildings. Type in mud flood buildings. And what you are going to see is an empire that is pre-colonial. That does not make sense. That you would say the only way that these buildings were even built was through the process of free energy. Through the process of using your mind to create. Because they're for sure not doing it again. And then you have to then do your science on the World's Fairs, to which they showed off the World's Fairs and all of these amazing old world empire buildings. And then after the World's Fairs, they tore them down. Well, why? Then do your science on the Great Fire of Boston, the Great Fire of Baltimore, the Great Fires of New York, the Great Fire of Chicago, the Great Fire of Detroit. All of these particular cities had great fires that reduces the city to ash. And you have to ask yourself, well, why? Why are these buildings collapsing? Why are y'all tearing down these buildings? To whereas now we don't have much evidence of it. We have some evidence of it. If you go downtown and look at your city halls, look at the chapels and the cathedrals, understand that those are aspects to your history. And understand that those particular cathedrals are worship centers to Jesus Christ. And then you got to then begin to say, well, why? Why couldn't it just be, something for something else? I don't know. I can't even conceive of nothing. Why can't it be a temple to Ganesha or something in the Bay? I don't know. And then you have a particular theory called the mud flood. And it's research pertaining to it. You can probably go downtown and look at a building that starts on the second floor and it's slanted to the left. Why? Historic buildings worldwide exhibit architectural features like doors and windows 7 feet below current ground level. Makes no sense. It's amazing how these structures look, these capitals, these star forts. You have to do your Googles. I'm not making a video about it, but it's so much evidence that connect. You have to see it for yourself. I'm going to bring this up again, but at the same time, if you've never heard about the Tartarian Empire, if you never heard about old world buildings, do the knowledge, okay? Across continents suggests a unified global culture. Understand this. Old world architecture in China. I was watching it in a video yesterday. I would have to, it ain't in there. That shit ain't even Googleable. But I was definitely, damn, what was that dude's name? It's not, it was Jared Boosters. Jared Boosters, he got videos on top of videos. Then he is entertaining as well. And he have a story. Like, he had a story about this dude named, His name was Don Barber. Just to show you how these niggas got down. Don Barber architecture. Don Barber was an American architect. Barber was a grandson of Hiram Barber. So understand, he was born in 1871 and died in 1925. So that's 50-some odd years. So he goes to school. Then he returns to America around 1900 and establishes his own firm. In 1923, Barber was elected as the associate member of the National Academy of Design. And so let's just look at some of the things that he built. Or so-called built. Built this in 1908. I mean, this nigga is building shit like you had never even seen. Marble tombs in the 1900s in places that, you know, aren't fully populated yet. Right? And he's doing this shit like they mixtapes. The Connecticut State Library. And he's like, you know, young man in 20 years of work, he able to do some shit. Like, this is a person's lifetime achievement in the old Roman world, so to speak. But he just one of many architects that's quote unquote creating all of this shit at the turn of the century. And the reason I'm feeling like they had to do it so fast and so quick, because they understood that the camera was coming, it was being invented. So people was going to have photographical evidence of the reality that they was living in. And so in order for them to say, you know, who built this? Tyrone. You know, Tyrone built, let's say Don Barber. We're going to give you the Village Hall. We're going to give you Travelers Tower, the second largest building in Connecticut. Mind you, he just did his greatest hit, the Connecticut State Library. I'm talking, this man was a damn savant. You feel me? And we taught to believe that, and trust me, it's like thousands of buildings that just pop up in the 1900s. I'm talking about old world architecture, some shit that you ain't never even seen or thought about it. Like, mind you, this shit don't make no sense to me, and maybe it's just me. So we could do buildings in the 1800s. And there was like a Wikipedia page that I seen. Buildings in America. Let's be clear. List of the oldest buildings in America. Right? I'm gonna scroll all the way down. Thank you. You okay? I'm going to scroll all the way down to 1855. Okay. This is the shit that they was building in 1855, y'all. What is this building called? This is the old Las Vegas Mormon fort. So in 1919, they building shit like this. Do that make sense? In a matter of 70 years, you go from this to this? $1869. $1889. So that's even more of a leap. And then the crazy part about it, they just started building buildings one day, right? Because at first they built their homes and forts, and now they're building these tall ass structures basically overnight. You got to be shitting me. These windows, they look like they built this second story on top of something that was already there. So throughout the diaspora, you see these unifying architectural styles, i.e. Victorian style, throughout the world. And this is often linked to Tartarian Empire. But we also know why they call it the Tartarian Empire, because it was the Moorish Empire. Okay. And that would mean a whole lot to you in your lineage, in your ways of viewing yourself. So World Wars I and II are theorized as pivotal events for the destruction, concealment of this advanced civilization's remnants, aligning with the extensive urban bombing campaigns. And we also talked about the world fairs. The World Fairs, also known as Universal Exhibition or Expos, were large international events held to showcase national achievements in technology, culture, and industry. So according to Google, most buildings from the World's Fairs were demolished because they were temporary structures, often made of cheap materials like plaster and wood, and the land was intended to be redeveloped for more practical uses. Of course it was. Of course. Of course. So, early 20th century photographs often depict magnificent, deserted cityscapes with few visible inhabitants, appearing incongruously against the simple backdrop of these elaborate megastructures. So if you just Google old world buildings in America, you're going to see like just this old world building, and you ain't gonna see no people. It's going to be a deserted land. So what they tell you, part of the deception, is that they came in here and built all of this shit. And the reality is, you were living in a glorious empire. And these people came in and deceived you from the beginning. It was an all-out blitz to deceive you and to keep you in some form of a bondage. And the bondage is deeper than racism, if you could even believe that. It's more sinister than that. It's taking you out of your whole entire history. And then the beautiful part of it is that it's right in front of you if you know where to look. So now we're going to talk about the comments. There was a historian who was alive during the invasion of Jerusalem, which is referenced in Revelation 19, and recounts several omens that said have foretold Jerusalem's destruction in the years leading up to it. Among those was a star resembling a sword which stood over the city, and the comet that continued a whole year, possibly Halley's Comet, which was visible over Jerusalem in the winter and the spring of 66 CE. Other signs included a bright light around the temple altar near Passover, a cow giving birth to a lamb, and the heavy eastern gate in the inner sanctuary opening on its own. Josephus also mentions the appearance of heavenly armies in the sky before sunset. So what Josephus is doing is agreeing what John is writing, letting you know, like, the Bible is contemporary. It's not so for, we can't be so ignorant into thinking that we're reading the Bible and it's talking about a time to come. I would say, based upon our lack of history, based upon our lack of knowledge, the Bible is talking about some shit that already happened. And when you look at it through that lens, it makes a lot of sense. You can understand why people can recognize it to be truth, even if they don't understand why it is truth, because it has already happened. And what we're not understanding is this 1,000-year period of the Dark Ages, the Renaissance, the global reset, which is called 1776, the Statue of Liberty, and the cosmic reality for which we get to bear witness to around November. Priests reportedly heard a loud noise, a crash, and a voice from the temple declaring, "We are departing from here." So when you talk about the rapture and people waiting for the rapture was already documented. The rapture have already happened. And this all started 4 years before the revolt. And I'm speaking in reference to this particular reality, that we can begin to see it from a different perspective of course, if you read something in a book that have already happened and you didn't see it happen again, you can say, oh, that shit ain't real. But it had already happened. In the Bible, it doesn't say the rapture is going to happen. It states that the rapture has happened. And then Josephus is like, yeah. Josephus, a historian, eventually become a father of the church and a believer based upon what he have experienced. So you got these millions of people becoming Christian, dying for Christianity. And why would you die for something that you don't even understand? I would only die for something that I absolutely knew. And the message about the Christians around those times was, man, these niggas is crazy. These niggas is devout. And there was a peasant, and this is according to Josephus. This is not biblical history. This is recorded history. The concept of Jesus ben Ananas was like the one dude, 1440 Thai. If Jesus was a homeless man, would you help him or hide your hand from him? You know? If Jesus was homeless, what would you do? Roamed the city prophesying its destruction for 7 years. And this person is where you get the archetype or the understanding of Jesus. And then what had happened was Jerusalem was actually overtook. The siege of Jerusalem was a decisive event of the first Jewish revolt against the Roman Empire. Roman forces led by Titus besieged the Jewish capital, the revolt's main stronghold. After months of fighting, they breached the defenses and destroyed the Second Temple and razed the city, killing and enslaving and displacing much of its population. The city's fall marked the effective end of the revolt and had far-reaching political, religious, and cultural consequences. In the winter, after a succession war in Rome, the campaign in Judea resumed. So he's just coming in pause. It's a war that's happening in Jerusalem around this time. And what inevitably ends up happening is that the temple is destroyed. And the temple being destroyed represents some form of prophecy. The destruction of Jerusalem and its temple marked a turning point in Jewish history. With sacrificial worship no longer possible, Judaism underwent a transformation, giving rise to rabbinic Judaism, centered on Torah study, acts of loving kindness, and synagogue prayer. The city's fall also contributed to the growing separation between Christianity and Judaism. So Christianity becomes a whole different thing outside of Judaism that is related to empire. So another way of looking at this is Constantine and Christianity. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say just. Constantine the Great was the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity. So what Constantine did was made Christianity an empire. And it could be Rome or the Holy Roman Empire and all of these particular names and words that they begin to tell you. But I'm pretty sure that they're alluding to the facts that this was a great empire of privilege, of power, of peace that the world had never seen before. So because of that, they would have to go into what we would call the dark ages. And so I'm going to do a little short break and play a little quick video about Joe Rogan talking about the Comet Three Eye Atlas. And I'm going to relate that to the siege of Jerusalem, the end of Jewish rule, the rise of Christianity into empire, and then the suppression of said empire, but with little leaks here and there. So you getting little breadcrumbs, but you never getting the full cake.
Dude, this is real. I am not comfortable with this Comet Atlas.
I know.
And I like, you know,
we've got Avi Loeb coming on to talk about it.
He's amazing. I had him on my podcast a long time ago. He put up with my.
A lot of people in the beginning were saying that it's bullshit. It's a comet. Why is he saying this? He's risking his reputation. But then as time's going on, they're going, "Whoa, this is weird. This thing's really weird."
Well, it's okay. First of all, it's important to note that one thing that titillates my dumb ass is it just so happens the government shutdown coincides with when we could use the satellites on Mars to get pictures of that thing. So we're not getting pictures. They did release a picture of it yesterday.
The government shutdown is stopping us from getting pictures of this thing?
Yes.
That's insane.
That's insane. Now that's
so insane. They should open that up.
I mean, it seems like that's really weird. Did you see the images that just came in though? The Europeans got an image of it.
It's weird looking.
It's weird looking, but I don't know what a comet looks like. So
I don't know what a comet looks like, and I don't know why it's weirder than other comets.
But it does seem like it's going. It's like rolling in a weird way, but it's the gas, right? It's like it's what it's releasing is the weird part.
Well, the weird part is coming from the same part of the universe where the WOW signal came from.
Yeah. That's weird.
That's weird.
That's weird.
That's
dude.
weird. Because that WOW signal, what was it, like 70 seconds long? Some very strange coded signal. It was 70 seconds long.
You know what else is weird is Jeremy Corbell said a bunch of people are going to start saying there's a mothership coming to Earth and don't believe him. Remember he was saying that?
Yeah, what's that all about? Why did he know that?
I don't know.
You got to tell people why you know something like that. You can't just say that.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, how do you know? How do you know that it's not really a mothership? How do you know they're going to say it's a mothership?
Well, Corbell, he's got to do this tightrope walk because somehow he does have inside contacts, but if he says too much, he puts his whole life in danger.
It's such a spy TV show. Dude, so much of it seems like a spy TV show. So much of it seems like a well-written psyop.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
A few days ago, on October 3rd, it passed near Mars within 29 million kilometers, and this camera was able to detect it. And what we see is a ball of light with a slight extension, it doesn't look like a typical comet where you see a beautiful tail of dust stretching away from the direction of the sun. And there will be much better data. The best is yet to come from the high-rise camera on board NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. The data was taken, but because of the government shutdown, we haven't seen it. That particular camera is 0.5 meter in diameter and can give us 30-kilometer resolution of 3I Atlas, this new interstellar object. And that could potentially tell us how big it is, because the amount of sunlight that is reflected from it will set the brightest pixel in the image that we get from NASA. So everyone is eagerly awaiting that, because it will be the best, the highest resolution image we have. And you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
We've had sworn testimony where they'll say, yeah, I've seen beings. There's a movie coming out.
And the testimony says this is sworn testimony.
Sworn testimony. There are beings, and there's saucers or some craft or something. But there's a movie coming out pretty soon, if it's ever allowed to come out. I was in it a little bit, and they have former members of the CIA. You have others that positively say they were there, and they identified these things. They diagnosed them, and they saw them. They saw the craft, and you know, there's enough people out there saying it, but they're just so suppressed, and the media moves on so fast on something. And you know, I've been on so many of these interviews, and they're playing the theme from some crazy TV show or something before I come on, you know, and they're just making a joke out of it, and I get it. people want to laugh about it.
I don't get it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I get the fact.
Seems like an absolutely. I mean, it seems
they
like
just want to humiliate me, and
but it's a deadly serious topic, objectively speaking. And if
it's a national defense issue, it's everything. It's everything. I mean, it's not national; it's a world defense issue.
It's a lot more serious than Black Lives Matter or any of the other
100%.
nonsense that we've become obsessed with over the past generation. So, yeah, there's. I mean, that tells you right there that's part of an operation designed to discredit people who ask.
We see now that it passed near Mars, and there will be much better data. The best is yet to come from the high-rise camera on board NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. The data was
I'm on mute. I was trying to. My bad. My bad, Joe. So, basically, in chapter 19, in chapter 20, we had seen a correlation between the past in the comment and the present in the comment, meaning that there will be signs. So we look at these astronomical, when we look at these astronomical and cosmological signs, we then begin to say, okay, this could be something. Now, like I said, 70% thinks that, it's just going to be a regular day in the neighborhood. Nothing is going to change. But in the 30 percentile, I actually think that Jesus might return on the mothership in the guise of a comet. I think the shit might go down around the end of November, beginning of November, sometime in November 1st to the 30th. I think we might have some real live extraterrestrial shit pop off. Now, is it fake? Could be 70%. But I'm putting this video together for the 30% in me that thinks that this could actually be real. So we are presently in the midst of a cosmic phenomenon that we can't really sink our teeth into because our government decides to shut down and the market crashed, and then crypto got 19 billion liquidated from it. And usually people be acting out of like, I've heard some intel, so let me do what I need to do. And this world is either going to reset or something. Like it's I can see the poles shifting. Antarctica becomes, on the equator, and the equator becomes Antarctica. I can see a global reset. But what I can't see is us owing $350 trillion to nobody. The financial system, where in the 1940s, our main way for getting money was manufacturing. Into 2025, the main way of getting money is through financial derivatives and creating percentages off of percentages and fees and things of that nature. So we are living in real life, in a real life awakening process that, the government's not real. You can see that. You can look at Donald Trump and all of those people sitting up there during a peace meeting and say, oh, these aren't the people that's in power. They might think they in power. They might have the illusion of power, but we can see it. So and really it is, tied into Saturn mythology. Saturn would like to eat his kids. Right? Saturn does not want to lose its power, time. But all of the mythologies have to lead to this particular point, have to lead to this particular revelation where there is a collapse and a renewal. And when you look at this particular full moon, which took place in Sidereal Pisces, which represents a completion, which represents an ending, the ending is not an ending, it is a segue for a new beginning. So part of this little season mythos, because you have to have correlations to even just make it make sense. And I'm speaking very common sense. And so what's the issue is people are going to say, and I've seen some comments, I'm not really a comment guy when I'm like trying to, or chat guy when people is just spamming it. But when I think about the Dark Ages, I don't just assume what you're telling me. I'm going to challenge that narrative, because just because you are limited doesn't mean that your limitations is the truth. So when you're talking about Satan's little season, it's going to call the Dark Ages, when in fact it could be the Light Ages. And what Christians is going to do is going to say, you wrong. What intellectuals are going to do is say, you're wrong. But they are not going to get into the reality that everything that you know have been created post the 1700s. The Renaissance, 15, 16, 1700s, scientific, what is that? Scientific theory, or the scientific method rather. which people come to get to like, all right, this is the truth and this is wrong, and everything is based upon theory because nobody truly knows. And I've heard that once you get to PhD level of education, they specifically tell you how much you don't know, and therefore you have to really adhere to a scientific method in all you do, because there is never a point in time where you absolutely know things. So when we are inferring into a whole 1,000-year period as the Dark Ages, you would have to look at it differently as opposed to just running with the common narrative, because the common narrative has already been studied by many scholars to say that that is misleading, that is inaccurate. It wasn't the Dark Ages. There was a lot of things going on. And you would have had to know that there was a lot of things going on because of people like Tesla, who is trying to recover and recalibrate a system of free energy and time travel, but ultimately fell short in reference to a guy by the name of Thomas Edison, who created a system where every fucking month they at your motherfucking neck. Ain't no bill like an electricity bill. So when we are referencing the Dark Ages, we are referencing something that is very specific. And when you come out of the Dark Ages, you come into the Renaissance, where a lot of people then said, all right, this is what Greek and Roman was really about. This is what this is what the Greek looked like. This is what the Roman looked like. But this is something that you must know. Most Greek and Roman artifacts are lost. Most Greek and Roman artifacts are lost due to factors like the natural decay of materials, destruction and wars and other conflicts, and the melting down of valuable materials like bronze for reuse. Only a small percentage of the original artifacts and literary works have survived to this present day. So everything that we understand about Greek and Roman life is a reinterpretation through the Renaissance period or the rebirth period, which is not real. So I'm going to let Hakeem Bey, this is an excerpt. If you haven't seen this video, it's a 2-hour video on YouTube, What They Don't Teach You in History Class 101. Okay? So you got to watch this video, and I'm just going to take a little quick excerpt out of it in reference to the Renaissance period and how a majority of it was faked. Let me, because it might, you know how this thing go, it might not even have no sound. So let me go ahead and reshare it. And I can assure that it has some sound. Let's do it like that. So, all right, here we go.
And now, I was going around making sculptures and stuff, saying that these were the ancient Greeks. A lot of these sculptures had heads missing. They concocted this thing. At that time, students of the Moors, they were students of the Moors.
One in the chat if you can hear it. One in the chat if you can hear it.
And they were going around, the artists were going around making sculptures and stuff, saying that these were the ancient Greeks. A lot of these sculptures had heads missing that they replaced. Now I said, there gotta be something that will give me some hints. Remember now, because all this information at Hart's Greek's time was kept out of the institutions of higher learning. But you will find it scattered here and there. You will find a sentence here, a paragraph here, a page here. It's scattered. You got to be almost like a detective, but you got to have the context. You got to have the paradigm first to know what you're even looking at. Once you get this particular context, this particular paradigm, a lot of things that you already know will begin to make a lot more sense in this particular context. And I said, there gotta be a book where I can find that I can uncover, because something just don't sound right. Then I came across something where Erasmus from the so-called Renaissance period was writing letters to other students under the pen name of Cicero. I said, hold up. And then you hear about, for instance, Francis Bacon was one who they call Shakespeare. And he had a literary group, or a secret society, secret literary group, who were putting out all kinds of works on Moorish science under the pen name of Shakespeare. So I said, what's going on here? Something don't seem right. You got to get the feel for this thing. Now, one day, this is where the ancestors come in, because once you tune in with the ancestors, they will guide you to certain things. The ancestors will constantly, that whole summer, they were guiding me to all kinds of books, and at that time I was teaching the course, and I have some of the packets here. I have about 10 of them, 5 of them already sold. And I was teaching the course at that time, and I was constantly, each week, they were just sending me, and I would just walk to a shelf, bam, pick up a book, and boom, the Jews would be in there. And I wasn't even using the catalog at a certain point. I was just walking in and just pulling stuff out. And I would get to sections, like I would be teaching on a topic like, for instance, constitutional law, and there would be a whole section on that subject, and I say, man, how am I gonna get the best book for the class or whatever, you know? And I would go right to a particular book, and it will be exactly the book that sort of like encompasses all the other ones. And it will be exactly the right one. So this is very important that we tune in with the ancestors, because they will lead us and guide us certain things that we need to know at this time. So one day I just got an urge to go to this bookstore, Barnes & Noble, up in Yonkers. And when I went there, I seen 2 nuns. And it just hit my mind, because somebody had told me, one of the elders said that C.M. Bay had got a lot of this information. C.M. Bay, who gave us a lot of this information, got it from a Catholic priest who had this stuff hid. So I thought about that when I seen them. I walked a little bit further, and there it was, the book I was looking for, a big, gigantic book, and on the top of the book it says fake. And it talks about all the fakes, artifacts that were being faked by these Europeans. And this is one excerpt from it, and it says the 19th century, the great age of faking. And this is right around the time of Horace Greeley. And it says the 19th century saw a fundamental shift in the relationship of Western culture to the past. And it says, a man by the name of Horace Walpole, sounds almost familiar, Horace Greeley, Horace Walpole and his circle had discovered the romance of the past, even in objects surviving from the period of barbarism between the fall of the Roman Empire and the Renaissance. Their discovery arriving on the eve of the Industrial Revolution, a period in which spread of affluence was combined with the increasing desire to escape from the present, because they know they didn't have no history at that present time, produced an explosion in collecting. From antiquities and old master paintings, the mania spread to encompass the chivalric glamour of the Middle Ages, the sculpture and decorative arts of the Renaissance, 18th century ceramics, 17th century metalwork, and even towards the end of the century. So in other words, at this time, they was dealing with all this that they have spaced out over hundreds of years, the Renaissance. They was dealing with all this at this time, and this is the time when they was concocting this whole thing, this whole false history. And it says the collecting mania created a paradise for dishonest dealers. As each new craze took a sudden imbalance between supply and demand, create the perfect opportunity for such people to peddle their fakes before a pool of expertise had been created. It says craftsmen and some artists were themselves bemused and sometimes embittered by the fact that this old work had suddenly replaced them. So what they did to maintain a living, they started making fakes of so-called old stuff, because the stuff they was making contemporary, it wasn't selling. And they see it was such a craze for so-called antiquities that they began faking these things. All right? So that just will make you understand sometimes.
It's a dirty, dirty game, man. Dirty, dirty game. So, to summarize, during the 15th and 1600s, the people of Europe, the people of America said, because I don't know, You know what I'm saying? I don't know your history if you don't tell me your history. So it's hard for a person to say, you know, I just came out of a cave and I'm being possessed by the devil. It's easier to say I'm a Greek and I'm a Roman and I'm a Hittite and I'm a Assyrian. In our minds, everything that we hear about in history, we imagine different variations of Caucasoid type of people. And the reason why we're doing that is because they're specific of removing Black people from the equation through their ability to create the textbook that we are reading from, through their ability to create the source documents that we must adhere to come up with any reasonable argument. So if I create the source document that postulates that all dark-skinned people existed in sub-Saharan Africa in a tribal voodoo, some kings here and there, but more or less they was beating their chest like monkeys with plates in their lips. That's what Black people was doing while we was in Greece, while we was in Rome. And niggas think like that. So the red, black, and the green is not a Black invention. It is more racism in a space of you not knowing the truth. So to me, it's very clear. And you would have had to hear so much conscious information and it be pieced and fragment, puzzle piece here, puzzle piece here, to be able to put this shit together and see, I see it now. I can pull from this video, that video, like I can see it now because I've been paying attention and I can understand the spell that people are under. Like I've read literature in reference to John Baptiste, the founder of Chicago, in reference to the institution of slavery as people being possessed by demons. And when you are possessed by demons, you are operating like that movie Sinners. Whereas there is a horde, there is a group of people that are operating under one master. And that one master is the devil. And that's not words that I created. That master is Satan. Them not words that I created. In the Bible, it says this stuff. Not something that I'm creating. Satan will be released from his prison and will go out to deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth and to gather them for battle. In number, they are like the sand on the seashore. We talking about a well-executed plan by possessed demons. And nobody want to get it to this level. Niggas rather go to work and be like, man, as long as I got my job, hood, that's all I'm really focused on right now. Get my money together, trying to stay out of trouble, bro. And I get it. I understand. Listen, I'm only 30% believing what I'm even talking about right now because what I'm saying right now is so fucking crazy. You understand? But I'm going to speak to it because I got time. I'd rather speak to this 30% of belief in the understanding of why things are fucked up and not attributing. So the explanation to it is easy. Let's break this shit down right now. Let's clear this shit up right fucking now. This shit right here. Let's not do this shit no more. And I'm being contextual. I'm not being literal. The assumption that God and the devil is somehow at a tug of war is bullshit. A person that struggles with temptation, a person that struggles with guilt, a person that struggles with sin, a person that struggles with all of these particular things that seem so powerful, they have never dealt with the perfection of Sophia. They only dealing with the devil, that the devil is a mirror of the devil. The good part of the devil is still the devil. Do y'all not understand that? If the devil and God is neck and neck, then both of them niggas is the devil. That's the game. So your preacher come in there, start talking to you about the powers of sin and iniquity and all of this bullshit. He don't know God, because God is like the devil to God is an ant. You can step on an ant like nothing. It's God. I created this whole entire universe. Why would I then create a devil? You have to know you're living in a little season. And this particular concept in reference to what you are going through, and you trying to figure out good versus evil. It ain't good versus evil, nigga. That's not real. It's only good. There's no reason to be evil. So when we talk about the little season, we're talking about the Renaissance up until now. We're talking about two specific dates, 1493, 92, 1776. And we're talking about the re-jiggamization of indigenous people and indigenous culture being flipped on his hind. And then to look at it in such a way where Black people was in sub-Saharan Africa and in America was this devoid wasteland of greenery with nobody in it. When in actuality, it was a metropolis of future technology, free energy, ancient Christ-like people that reigned and lived and understood things at the highest level. But in order to acquiesce with scripture, we had to be like Men in Black and had to just simply go under a spell and forget who we truly are. So instead of being angry, instead of being mad, instead of being sad, instead of wanting to fight against white people, instead of just hating your job, instead of being mad that you're a baby mama, a baby daddy, whatever the case, whatever situation you find yourself in, remember who you are. That's the point of the little season. We allowed it. We allowed it. We did nothing in understanding scripture from this perspective. You are on the winning team. Certain things in reference to the power of the devil is only going to be instituted by the devil. So let's reinterpret this information based upon the things that we talked about in this video. One's in the chat if you enjoyed the share at all, if you've been listening and enjoyed the share, if you learned something, if you feel like you want to do more research. Let me get a couple ones in the chat. All right, so we just going to highlight what we talked about over this share. So by synthesizing these distinct and historical cosmic narratives, we have created a compelling Gnostic perspective that emerges and reframes our understanding of the current time that we are living in. What I tried to do was connect the dots between our forgotten past and our present moment, even though we live in a world filled with illusion, but also at the same time, so much potential. All you have to do is take a ride outside of your city and see how much of this world is actually inhabited, is not habited by anything or anybody. And, you know, the world is just so much to see, so much to do. It really hurt my heart that people be sitting around just wasting their time crying over shit. So my personal opinion is that we are entered into the realm of the little season. The little season is specific to a Bible verse in Revelation chapter 20, verse 7, which specifically talks about 1,000-year reign. That even in Zachary Lansdowne book, he had to acquiesce to say, many people take this to be literal, and he couldn't disagree. Because it says 1,000 years 7 times in chapters 19 and chapters 20. So at any point in the Bible, you can take it or leave it. But with this particular part of the Bible, it makes you sit back and wonder in reference to people, especially if you're into conspiracy, especially if you're into the occult and secret societies and the Knights Templar. What is the secret, and why are all of these secrets somehow connected to Christianity? One would have to, if in the doctrine of Christianity is that Jesus is the Son of God. And so in reference to somebody being the Son of God, you would hope that they would have some razzle dazzle. And then when you reflect on the Tartarian Moorish Empire, which was a worldwide empire that just enlightened and enhanced the whole entire planet, where did they get the information from? And then for it to end like that, to be a worldwide conspiracy cover-up that nobody can talk about, even though we bear witness into people like Prester John and the Tartarian Empire and this great African nation that we have no signs from. It's a conspiracy theory. Oh, it's not real, guys. Nothing to see here. Did you see this painting that I did of Julius Caesar, though? Lifelike, accurate. I'm speaking to the common sense in you. I'm not speaking to the scientific method in you. I'm not speaking to the K through 12 education in you. I'm not speaking to the I graduated from college with honors in you. I'm speaking to the common sense in you that is going to determine if the mac and cheese is hitting or not at the barbecue. If this don't make sense to you, cool. But if it do make sense to you, continue to fight. Continue to struggle for your understanding of who you are. Understand that your divine spark is silent, it's quiet, it's not responding to your emotions in reference to the illusion. because the girl cheated on you last week and it was so traumatizing, and you feel that this is the reason for you to feel this way and sad, you yet to understand who you are. And if she did cheat on you, respond differently to it. Get closer to her. You know what I'm saying? Like, on No Malice, Pusha T. Just like, you know what was it like? You know, not even on just like, we just gonna be besties, or like, look at it from a different perspective. Challenge your circumstances. Because it's a real, I'm gonna have to find it though, because it's what I want to say, but it's poetic. But it is from Zachary Lansdowne's book, The Revelation of St. John. And I think I can find it fairly quick because it's a word that I'm going to be specifically looking for, and that word is circumstance. And illumination and circumstance are one and the same. So let me see. Here we go. It was quicker than I thought it was going to be. You know? Let's get some zoom it in. Let's zoom it in so we can all bear witness and have a moment. Here is the key principle of wisdom, which is taken from verse 18. Let me see what chapter this is. What chapter is this? So it'll be chapter 13, verse 18. Here is the key principle of wisdom. Illusion operates throughout the personality, pervading the mental body as false beliefs, the emotional body as glamour, the vital body as Maya. Understanding this principle implies deeply distrusting all reactions of the personality to life and circumstances, because illusion cannot even be recognized as illusion without the illumination of the soul. So when we are breaking this down, we are starting with the premise that we have the divine spark and we have the soul. That's our first premise. Then to understand this, we are going to be faced with a girl cheating on you. And if you ever been through this before, the only way you get over it is when you flip it. When you begin to like laugh about it or look at it from a different angle. The more you think about her cheating on you and betraying you and breaking your bond and taking away your trust, the more you become delusional. Illusion leads to delusion. Whatever you're going through, name it. Name a situation and look at it differently. Why? Because the premise is wisdom. Now, we have to do the knowledge. Who is God then? Who is God then? Sophia, wisdom. So when we're talking about wisdom, we're actually talking about God. Because in verse 18 in the King James Version, it says, here is wisdom. Here is God. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. The beast is your personality. And count the number of ways that your personality can respond to circumstance. Because the problem with the beast is that the beast is not in contact with the soul. So the beast is like, well, when I was 12, when I was 6, when I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall, and in the back of my mind, I hear my conscience call, telling me I need a girl that's sweet as a dove. It's the first time in my life I swear I need love. There I was, daydreaming about the past, looking ass like, nigga. This is now the work is required because we live in the little season for some odd reason. We are in the time of the little season, Satan's little season. So we cannot go to church to find God. We can't go to work to find God. We can't go to our family to find God. We have to find it within ourselves. For it is the number of a man, and his number is 636. So this particular paradigm, in reference to 636, is 3 6s. In numerology, each 6 has a particular identification in reference to a particular energy. 6 is the number of illusion, but if you get like any mathematical composition, if I get 6 liters of water and I add 6 more liters of water, now I have 12 liters of water. If I add 6 more liters, then I have 18 more liters. Now, this is what the Bible is doing. Therefore, it's giving you the 3 layers of illusion. Because 6 is the number of illusion in reference to this particular Hebrew numerology. So whereas it's connected to the Hindu way of looking at things. Because this actual Bible is Persian, but Persian and Hindu are closely related. So Persian then translates the Hindu to the Hebrew, and the Hebrew teaches the Hindu to the English speaker. And now we got to just break this shit straight the fuck down. And I started backwards, but now we can continue to go backwards, but let's start from the front. Pause. Through illusion operates throughout the personality. So once again, that's another way of saying, for it is the number of man. Okay? Pervading the mental body as false belief. So whatever you think yourself as is a false belief. Because we're coming from the front. We're not coming from the back. Pause. So once again, you're born on this earth by a family. Your family gonna tell you you're black, depending on what time you are in. Because it was a point in time in the 50s, your parents was telling you you're a Negro. It was a point in time when you was born in the 1900s, your parents was telling you you were colored. You know, and them and them white folks over there, and we don't deal with them and all this type of stuff. But once again, false belief. Any type of paradigm, because all of these paradigms is coming from somebody who made some shit up. And it might have sounded good, might have felt good, but in reference to the overall conclusion, because the overall premise is you have to go through illusion to get to truth. So you have to go through these particular paradigms that people try to ignore, but that's what the devil wants you to do. He knows that you're not willing to come to the fact that your mom and your dad is not your real mom and your dad. Spiritual people not able to come to that conclusion. You might be raising a motherfucking thug. You ain't ready to come to that conclusion. Your girl might have sold some pussy on Backpage last week. You ain't ready to come to that conclusion. You think that she a damn angel. It goes deeper down the rabbit hole. How deep do you want to go? But whatever you think is true, you think you got a down ass sister. False belief. Then it pervades to the emotional body as glamour. Since you have these false beliefs, I got this degree, I got this down ass sister, I got this nice ass car, I got this nice ass job, I feel better about myself. Up until you lose the girl, you find out that the girl is cheating, you lose some of the money, you have to downgrade to a studio apartment. Now you feel bad about yourself. Now, the point of it is you got to go through these ups and downs because they build a spiritual character. But what are people not going to do? They ain't about to lose their status in life. Once you get a car, you that nigga that's known for getting a new car, your ass gonna stay in the new car even though it's killing you. You paying $700 a month and $700 for insurance. You getting paid $3,000 a week. You can take $2,000 of that and get you a little beater hand-me-down car to get from point A to point B, cheaper insurance, because you're trying to stack to do some, you're trying to start your business. But it's hard to start your business when you got a $1,400 overhead that you can convert to like $300, but your glamour and your false beliefs is too hard strung. So you was unwilling to be the nigga that's in the Ford Tempo. Because at the end of the day, who gives a fuck? It's kind of a flex for a motherfucker to hop in a Toyota Camry, 1997 Camry, Honda Civic. To me, that's a flex. I like seeing niggas in old cars to just get from point A to point B, right? Because that's all it is. But tell me you niggas ain't under some form of glamour when it comes to your cars. Call me a damn liar. Say, Hood, you lying, Hood. I don't even care what kind of car I got. I don't feel better that I'm in a 2020 Dodge Hellcat. I don't feel better that I'm in the Escalade. Now, the problem of it is that it becomes a part of your identity. It becomes a part of your reality. These false beliefs, glamour, and Maya. And it's like, for most humans, they home, they car, they clothes, they appearance, how they show up, period. That's all it is with these niggas. So when it comes to the divine spark, I don't even give a shit because they wouldn't even begin to they will refuse. You niggas is paying $2,500 a month for rent just because. Instead of saying, damn, I can cut this shit in half, getting a roommate, shutting the fuck up. Shit, if you shut the fuck up, the nigga pay all your motherfucking bills. But you just gotta talk shit. Why you gotta talk shit so much? False belief, glamour, and now it's some motherfuckers that you gotta cut off. Don't you gotta, one's in the chat when you gotta cut off a motherfucker because you know a motherfucker not gonna stop. You know a motherfucker gonna be who that motherfucker is. Violent, disrespectful, mean. No matter what they say, a fucked up motherfucker done apologize. One's in the chat. A fucked up motherfucker said, man, I ain't gonna never do that shit no more. I don't even know what got into me, babe. I ain't gonna never do that shit no more. Real niggas gotta go through this shit because we are trying to understand the principle in reference to wisdom, because wisdom is Sophia. Sophia is God. That is God. God is wisdom, nigga. It's not nothing else. Wisdom is the divine spark, it is the understanding, right? To what? Deeply distrust all reactions to the personality, to life and circumstances. So you gotta be creative when it comes to how life is playing for you. You gotta, another way is just being grateful for some shit. And they be like, you grateful for that? Yup. Why, nigga? Because it could be worse. It could be a lot worse. Whatever you could be going through, you could be going through it with a toothache. Now imagine that shit. You could have damn stubbed your toe. Imagine that shit. You complaining, go ahead and stub your toe. You gonna be complaining and with a stubbed toe. So be grateful you don't got a toothache right now. Be grateful you ain't stubbed your toe. Be grateful you got 2 arms, 2 legs. Now a lot of this can be cliche, but the reality is what you going through, what you experience. Oh, hood, I can't believe it. I got an abortion. Well, start talking to the little nigga. Oh, this is a sad, touchy subject, hood. We can't go. Listen, you either gonna understand the truth that that energy don't die sooner or later. You can do it now, or you can do it when you transition out the body, and that little nigga like, why you ain't take me to the park, bitch? Why you ain't get me no motherfucking toys? You was nice to your real kids. You act like I don't even fucking exist. I was sad. I was sad. Now it's beautiful. Because illusion cannot even be recognized as illusion without the illumination of the soul. So that brings you back to a point. You can do all of these fucked up, quote unquote, things and still have a proper perspective because you have a soul. And for a lot of us, we already got the goddamn baby mama. Was in the chat. We already got the goddamn felony. We already done did the stupid ass shit. We done already did it. And we can't even reverse it. So what we gonna do? These is not my words that I'm creating. These is words that's on the goddamn paper. What is we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Just be sad that we done did some stupid ass shit that we regret? That's a false belief anyways. That's glamour anyways. That's forgetting that none of this shit is an illusion anyways. Why? Why is it an illusion? Because we all reach the point of what? A goddamn cemetery. Eventually. And when people reach the cemetery, all of that shit goes with them. He a cheater, he a liar, he a this, he a that. And all of this is based upon a specific illusion. And so back to the synopsis. So like I said, I can go on and on and on why we're in a little season, which is characterized by illusion, but also why that illusion is necessary if we're going to understand things from a proper Gnostic perspective. In order to understand wisdom in reference to, I would imagine, so this is just me imagining, we were some spoiled ass little kids, didn't appreciate what God was doing for us. We was, 9, 10 generations deep into living in abundance and prosperity. And you know how your kids be when you give them a little power. The niggas is little terrorists. And so God said, all right, 3rd season of the Magicians. Is it the 3rd season? What season of the Magicians did they lose their power? I be knowing about that damn season 3 of the Magicians, boy. That shit was triggered. That shit triggered me. I got nightmares of that shit. You know what I'm saying? You think you got magical powers? You go cut on the coffee machine. You like, wait a second. Hold the fuck up. Oh hell no. What the fuck you gonna do? You gonna have to goddamn literally cut on a goddamn coffee pot. You like, hell no, this is crazy. So, once again, I'm feeling that's what happened with us towards the late stage generation of the kingdom. And therefore, we had to learn. And we still learning. And yeah. So the dark ages, I feel like we need to do more research, more studying on what they mean by the dark ages, because none of that shit that was started during the Renaissance was a part of the original code of life. A lot of it was specifically encoded with capitalism, religiosity, government control, and all of these particular things that we just don't like. And it started during this particular time, 1500s, 1600s, 1700s. And I feel like they big homie was the devil. Okay. So I don't respect none of that shit that people be talking in reference to that, because if we're going to assign scripture to what y'all specifically are doing, it's in alignment with the little season. And also, I feel like this comment is awakening us. I feel awakened. I feel like I'm connecting dots in a way that I ain't never connected dots before. So I understand things as energy. And so I hope that this shit is playing out in your life. I hope you're able to just get a little bit more time meditating, a little bit more time of decoding mysteries and understanding where you stand at in this particular thing called life, because, you know, it's some things that's about to happen. But like Tupac say, you know, what do Tupac say? I hate misquoting people. So I'd be like always having to look it up. Tupac Smile by Scarface. Cause the shit he be saying is more poetic. I'm gonna just fuck it all up, just bumbling over that shit. You feel me? There's gonna be some stuff you're gonna see that's gonna make it hard to smile in the future. But through whatever you see, through all the rain and the pain, you gotta keep your sense of humor. You gotta be able to smile through all this bullshit. Remember that. Keep your head up, right? Shout out to Tupac, man. Shout out to Sada Shakur, right? Soldiers in the revolution, man. So, my thesis is that from a metaphysical viewpoint, we are in the short time. We are in the little season. We are in a pivotal moment where the hidden archives are opening, ancient architecture are revealing their secrets, and the second resurrection is upon us. And we are going to remember who we are, right? It's just been a test, it's been a phase. I personally have always felt my whole entire life that I was born in this time for a reason. You know, I've always felt that way. And so, once again, completely delusional, I could be. I'm giving myself that grace. I hope y'all give me that grace, but allow me to just get my shit off in the way I just want to get my shit off. You feel me? Let me just be me. You know what I'm saying? Let me just say what I want to say. And so, with all of that being said, this is a quote from the Apocryphon of John. Apocryphon, I'm sure I'm butchering the hell out of that. But we're also going to connect Jesus to Sophia, because Jesus is a messenger for Sophia Barbello in the Gnostic understanding. He is connected to the pleroma. He is connected to the goddess, right? So, and the shadow arose from it, and it was in ignorance. And the shadow became dense matter, and the light withdrew to itself. So, what is our goal in this particular paradigm? It is to find that light within ourselves, because the light is not going to deal with the shadow, because it understands what the nature of it is. Nothing good can come of it. even if it feels good. So at a certain level, do what you got to do to stay sane. But on a second level, begin to examine some of the illusion and how it shows up in your life, right? And I appreciate y'all comments, because it was a comment on the last video I did that even referenced the second season. Or the little season. I didn't even know this concept was even I didn't even know it existed. So from that comment, I went down a whole nother rabbit hole that led me to a comment. No pun intended. And so, yeah, leave comments. They really help me direct where I'm going to study and what I'm going to go to next. Because once again, it's something like, this is like a part 2 to the part 1, but it was like something that I wasn't cognizant of. So I understand that there's a lot of information that I'm just not even aware of that is exciting moving forward. So, man, I appreciate y'all for tapping in with me on this wonderful, wonderful Tuesday morning. I usually get up and do a whole different program routine, but I was like, man, I gotta spread this good news, man, that, God is real, God is alive, and we can all rejoice for understanding this world for which we live in from an esoteric perspective. So, comment, what should I talk about next? What should we research next? What's happening in the world? Like, let's get to this information. Let's grow. Let's develop. Let's understand what's taking place in a specific time and place. Check me out on Instagram at @thehoodmystic. Follow me. Give me a follow there. Send me a DM. Website hoodmystic.com. whiterabbitpsych.com. You know what I'm saying? But beyond all of this, I'm going to go I got hella orders to package. It was a holiday yesterday, so I'm going to get to work, and I'll tap in back with the family as soon as possible. Shout out to the initiates. We got some content that we need to drop as well, so we working, man. If you need to support, Cash App, $Hoodmystic38, or visit whiterabbitpsych.com. Check us out. Send me an email, hoodmystic@gmail.com. If you have any questions, but with all that being said, hope y'all have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, wherever this video finds you, and do the knowledge, right? Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. I'm Hood, signing off.